Hey there, I'm Ryan from Waylight Creations, and today I want to show you how we made this Santa hat out of air-dry clay and resin. The bulk of the Santa hat is made out of air-dry clay. This is a super cheap clay that you can pick up at just about any hobby store. I started out the hat by making a base. This base will also serve as the folded white portion of your typical Santa hat. The main thing you want to do is get it flat, rounded, and smooth. You should always have a cup of water sitting nearby too when working with clay to keep the clay wet, and it makes it easier to work with. After I had the base how I wanted it, I made a cone-like shape for the top of the hat. After I had that how I wanted it, I wet down the top of the base and the bottom of the cone, and then I scored it with a knife and stuck them both together. After you have it attached, you'll want to do most of your blending and smoothing to get the shape that you want. I also bent over the top portion of the hat to give it a more realistic drooping look. I also pushed in the sides around the base to give it a more realistic folding effect. I pinched in the clay where the base meets the cone with a popsicle stick and smoothed everything out with a paintbrush. Then I added the ball of the hat using the same scoring technique I did on the cone and the base. I smoothed everything out and molded it to the shape that I wanted. After the clay had dried overnight, I released it from the cutting board it was on with a scraper. Then I rounded over the bottom edge with a knife. And of course, I smoothed out the sharp edges. I also did a small amount of sanding in some areas I felt needed it. Once I had the clay exactly how I wanted it, I mixed up some resin and poured it over the top of the hat and brushed it into the areas that didn't receive any. Then I let it cure for about 24 hours, just to make sure it was dry. Once it was cured, I just added some paint. The traditional red and white, of course. And I discovered painting on resin works really well. After the paint had dried, I decided to add one more coat of resin to give it a glossy surface. This time I just brushed on a thin coat. About 12 hours later, once the coat had cured, I cut out a felt bottom and hot glued it on so it wouldn't scratch the shelf we'll place it on. All in all, it turned out pretty decent. It's actually the first time I've worked with clay since probably high school. Using resin with clay had a surprisingly good result, and if anything, it opened up a door to some new possibilities for future projects. So let us know in the comments what you thought of this project, or give us an idea for a future project. Also, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel. We put out new project videos like this one every week. So thanks for watching. Be safe and stay creative.